Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Azrita binti Rahmat, matric number 057647. We are from Group 5 who had newly appointed as junior executive in a financial institution has chosen the topic ITAB, Islamic Motor Vehicles Financing. First of all, I will describe the criteria for selecting the potential customer. Al-Ijaratu Ma'al-Bai is one of the newest and most unique products of Islamic hire purchase facilities in Islamic banks in Malaysia today. Its purpose is to satisfy the hire purchase idea of the present demand of consumers who are mostly interested in motor vehicles. In every form of business activity, the decision-making process for selecting potential customers is essential to prevent financial loss. It is quite simple to obtain the criteria for selecting potential customers by applying the principles of good loans and 5 C's. The lending business, which is the most important business for banks, is heavily loaded with certain inherent risks, and financial institutions are not allowed to take more than calculated risk whenever it wants to lend. Therefore, a lending activity must undoubtedly conform to a set of predetermined principles. The principles of lending can be conveniently split up into two different categories, which are activity and individual. The things that have under the lending areas of the activity are things like liquidity, diversification, stability, profitability, and safety. When it comes to lending, one of the most important principles is liquidity, because they are lending public money from which depositors can pull their money at any time. Banks will only lend for short periods of time. Next, the safety of the money that has been borrowed is yet another principle of lending. When we talk about safety, we mean that the borrower should be able to repay the principal along with the interest on time and at predetermined intervals without falling behind. Following that, we will discuss the 5 C's that should be considered when choosing the potential customer. The 5 C's of credit are useful to helping lenders assess risk and determine a borrower's credit worthiness. They also help lenders determine how much an applicant can borrow as well as the interest rate that will apply to that loan. As you work to improve your credit score and move closer to achieving your monetary objective, it could be beneficial to keep the 5 C's of credit in mind.
The next step going to be presented by me is description on the feature of ITAB. The feature that I'm going to talk about is three-party asset ownership regarded as project funding and technical help and mutual agreement and both party duty. First is the three-party. ITAB involved of three-party, there is the owner, hire and seller. Then, asset ownership is one of the key of ITAB in two separate contracts, that is Al-Ijarah, a leasing contract, and Al-Bay, a sale contract. Regarded as funding and technical help is the third of feature of ITAB. The facility can be used to support a variety of activities such as trade, commerce, industry, agriculture, and fisheries, housing, and personal advance other than those for commercial purpose and housing. It is important to note that this service has been used in a variety of ways by various banks and localities. Lastly is mutual agreement and both party duties. Both party responsibility and advantage are clearly spelled out in the contract, which was completed by mutual agreement. The contract indicates that it will be for a specific of time and a specific price. In particular, ITAB has adhered to both leasing ijarah and sale by contract principle in terms of condition imposed on the contracting parties, offer and acceptance consideration and subject content of the contract.
Next, the procedure for the potential customer to apply loan with guarantor. Before that, we need to know what is meant by ITAB. Al-Ijarah Thumma Al-Bay is the full name for the ITAB. For the direct translation, we can say that is hire than purchase. Al-Ijarah means hire, Thumma means then, and Al-Bay means purchase. Obviously, for the ITAB financing, it requires two contracts undertaken separately since ITAB means hire than purchase, which the two contracts are hire contract and sale contract. It is a bit different from the conventional hire purchase agreement, where conventional one needs only one agreement to be signing off. ITAB vehicle financing follows the Sharia contract as well as the spirit of the Hire Purchase Act 1967. Firstly, the potential customer need to bring up a bulk of documents like copy of identity card, driving license, the latest 3-month salary payslip or other income evidence, and so on to fulfill the requirement. Then, they need to signing 3 contracts where the first one is an additional letter which is acceptance, akad letter. This additional letter is a supplementary document to the main hire purchase agreement. It contains the description, asset and undertakings by the finance company and customer. The purposes of the akad letter is to confirm on the written agreement that the customers are accepted all the terms and accepted the Hire Purchase Act 1967 shall be governed and is applicable to the transaction. After signing of the akad letter, the next document must be presented before customer in sequence. First, the leasing contract, which is ijarah contract, where in this phase, the bank buy and paid full payment to the vendor based on the vehicle chosen by the hirer. And after bank bought and fully paid the vehicle to the vendor, the hirer needs to pay deposit mostly 10% of the full amount to the bank. After the hirer has paid the deposit, the customers also agrees to pay the road tax, insurance, and be responsible for the maintenance. After the customer's application are approved, the vendor will deliver the vehicle to customer. The second agreement that need to be signed off is the sales contract, which is al-bay. This sales and purchase contract are need to be signed off right after the hirer has fully paid their financing to the bank. This agreement is the contract where the owner title will be transformed from the bank to the hirer. As the hirer not signed off this agreement, the bank has the right to exercise any reasonable actions to mitigate its losses.
Now, I would like to discuss about the advantage and disadvantage of ITAB, Al-Ijarah Thumma Bay. As far as Islamic financing goes, using this contract has several advantages. There are 4 advantages we have collected. The first one is principle. Al-Ijarah Thumma Al-Bay is a Sharia-compliant organization. All Muslims are more confident to participate in this contract because of the principles applied in it. It's because the contract in question are both a law and highly favored in Islam. Furthermore, ITAB receives funding from halal funds. Second is documentation. There are 2 agreements in this ITAB contract, which are the Al-Ijarah contract hire agreement and Al-Bay contract agreement. Islamic hire purchase also takes into account the cost of stipulated amount of profit based on the murabahah concept. To donate the offer and accept the transaction, the customer must sign the akad letter. The third one is participants. In terms of participation, both ITAB and hire purchase car financing can be used by anyone. The last advantage is early payment settlement. Early payment settlement will result in a rebate IBRA from ITAB financing. Customer will also be eligible for a reimbursement if their lawsuits are settled early. Now, let's move to its disadvantage. ITAP financing is described in Islamic terminology to show that it is Islamic financing product, but in reality, it is an exact copy of traditional higher purpose financing. When applied in this Islamic financing, here are the disadvantages. The first one is risk. Risk that occurs when one party exceeds transaction charges and tax payment, including tax over commitment or tax over the structure, as well as charges that may burden the assets. Next, bank's earning. The bank's earnings are decreasing as a result of rent margin asset, which has become the subject of an archive. Lastly, installment. Customer finds it difficult to pay the first year's installment, but will be simple to pay the following years. So, that's all the advantage and disadvantage of ITAP, Al-Ijarah Tumma Al-Bay.
Next, we move to how can customer make repayment of the loan. The first one is the customer must have ascertained the type and model of the motor vehicle that they wish to lease from the car dealer. Customer has to pay certain percentage of the total finance amount as a deposit to the car dealer for jurisdiction purpose. After that, the deposit should then deduct from the monthly rental payment, as the deposit paid shall be deemed as advancement payment made by customer or on behalf of Maybank Islamic, which is their chosen bank. The second one is the customer need to approach bank for further information as well as financial advisory. Then the bank will offer the customer an asset or product in order to fulfill customers' needs. Next, bank will purchase the particular motor vehicle that required by customer from the car dealer, which also means that bank will be the one who hold the ownership of the vehicle. Bank will also pay car dealer the selling price include the tax expenses. Subsequently, the bank owning the vehicle will conclude the Al-Ijarah contract with the customer. In this contract, the customer should have paid the certain amount as monthly rental payment for leasing the vehicles for an agreed leasing period such as 60 months. The customer be able to take back the ownership of that particular vehicle from bank after he has done paying the monthly rental payment until the end of the payment period. Lastly, customer has to pay back the bank through paying monthly installment based on the base rate charged by bank. At the end of the leasing payment, the bank will execute a sales contract and transfer the ownership back to customer, which means that from that on that particular motor vehicle will belong to customer.
Finally, the last things that I want to present is other factors that can provide the comprehensiveness of ITAP. The first factor is religious obligation. In definition, religious obligation refers to the role of religion in affecting one's choices and activities. Studies show that religious obligations are a major factor influencing customers to choose products or services such as ITAP in banks. For instance, according to Sulaiman 2003, the Islamic differences worldwide based on Sharia can influence Islamic society. When it comes to Islamic personal financing, Islamic bank must adhere to Islamic principles, objectives, and purposes. This can assist the bank in determining whether or not to seek Islamic personal financing, as well as persuade individuals to seek Islamic personal financing. Furthermore, Hanuddin 2010 also discovered that adherence to Sharia, a crucial reason why bank clients use the ITAP option. Religion was the most important factor in figuring attitudes of Muslims towards Islamic banks, followed by convenience and traditional services. According to the findings of the study, customers' impression of religion were a more significant factor in influencing customers to utilize Islamic bank services than profitability. Secondly, the awareness level. Self-awareness means a capacity to perceive the self in relatively objective terms with maintaining a sense of subjectivity. Clearly, it is the ability of someone to understand the nature of impairment and appreciate its implications. Malaysian Muslims' awareness of Islamic banking products and services was high compared to non-Muslim customers. Muslim Anxiety 2008. This particular study found that most Islamic banking customers were satisfied with the overall service quality perceived by their bank. As Islamic products and services enter the markets, attitudes, perception, and knowledge is an important consideration in order to introduce new methods. The last factor is social influence. Many previous studies referred to social influence as subjective norms. Subjective norm refers to the individual's view regarding the profitability or the potential reference group or individuals to engage or not in behavior. Almost every day, one of one's individual will influenced by the opinions, deeds, and advice of other people. Fishbein and Adjacent 1975, Muhammad Taib, Ramaya, and Razak 2008 found that postgraduate students were influenced by subjective norm in behavior intention to engage in Islamic home financing. Similarly, Hanuddin and Rosita 2011 conclude that subjective norms had a relationship with determinants of an individual's intention to use ar-rahnu. The researchers stated that friends, family members, and teachers could be the agents impacting an individual's reaction pertaining to Islamic pawnshop use. Thank you for watching our presentation video about the topic we choose, that is ITAP. We hope you understand what we present about ITAP in more detail.